G'day cocktail lovers, I hope you've been keeping well. Hope you're ready for another cocktail. This one, bit of fun. This is, well, it's an invention of mine. It's riffing on a fairly well-known cocktail called the Alabama Slammer, which is, I guess, arguably someone trying to make a screwdriver more interesting, because an Alabama Slammer, there's a few recipes for it, but they all have a lot of orange juice in them. And I don't usually like orange juice in a cocktail because I think it overpowers the cocktail too much. So my version will not have orange juice. So an Alabama Slammer is typically 3 different liqueurs. It's a whiskey liqueur, usually Southern Comfort is recommended, sloe gin, so gin liqueur essentially, and amaretto, which is an almond liqueur. Now, my version, the name is inspired by a name that rhymes with Alabama Slammer from a dance track from the 90s in Australia. This is going to be called a Tamarama Door Slammer. Tamarama is a suburb in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. It's near Bondi Beach. Tamarama Beach is a place I used to hang out with friends in the 90s. So I'm showing my age. This drink is me reliving the 90s, and I'm going to make it all Aussie. All the components will be Aussie, but it'll be following that formula of a whiskey liqueur, sloe gin style liqueur, and a nut liqueur. And rather than orange juice, I'm going to use pineapple, make it a bit more beachy, and following a suggestion, or inspired by a suggestion from the Difford's Guide website. They said, all those liqueurs is a bit too cloying. Add an ounce of vodka to, give it a bit of spine. And I'm going like, why vodka? Just kind of sucks and brings nothing. My initial thought, I was going to use some white rum, and I definitely recommend use a white rum over vodka to give it a bit more character. But I am going to add a bit of an Aussie moonshine, Pacific moonshine, distilled from beer. And so my sloe gin will be an Australian gin from the Anther distillery. This is their cherry gin. Bit higher in alcohol than a lot of sloe gins. It's 30% alcohol. A lot of sloe gins will only be around 25%. Instead of amaretto, I'm going to use macadamia liqueur, Mac from the Brookies Byron Bay distillery, same people who made the moonshine. And instead of Southern Comfort, I'm using this from the Lark distillery in Tasmania. They call it Slanche. It's a whiskey liqueur. Fucking great. I mean, honestly, it's a little bit hard to get outside of Australia. A little bit hard in Australia for that matter. Honestly, if you're doing a whiskey liqueur, I'd recommend Drambuie, which is a Scotch whiskey liqueur, over Southern Comfort. But you do you. Those are the specs I'm using, and we're going to start making it in. Now the glassware is up to you. I'm putting it in a rocks glass with a big old chunk of ice, straining that in. Aha, turns out my intuition of the volume was right. Got a decent wash line. Now, for the first time, I'm trying a Tamarama Door Slammer. Oh yeah, okay. I know people talk about summer drinks and winter drinks, and this is obviously a summer drink. I'm going into winter. I love drinking very sort of tropical feeling drinks in winter. It cheers me up a bit, particularly because we're having another lockdown in Melbourne at the moment, which is hopefully only lasting another week. But it kind of sucks, so an escape drink works for me. Yeah, I think the pineapple juice is a better choice than orange juice, and I dialed it back to the 1.5 ounces, so the various liqueurs are still coming through. Very easy drinking drink. You know what, I want to do a little variation on this as well, because I saw an article during the week on the Punch Drink website that talked about the juice shake. And that was talking about when you're using a juice in a drink, rather than doing your standard juice in there and ice to shake it, freeze the juice, but freeze it with sugar syrup and some spirit, so it's not completely solid, so it's a little bit slushy. So put that in and shake it up, and they're talking about how it super chills the drink. And I thought, I'm game. I'm going to do that now and compare it. This is the frozen pineapple juice and sugar syrup and white rum. I thought have a bit of fun with it if you're going to do it. A little star-shaped mold. Now I'm going to put it in the drink and see if it does actually completely integrate. Those pieces of ice do seem to have completely melted, made the shaker nice and cold. Volume-wise, it'll be a bit different, because when you normally use ice, that adds up to half an ounce to even an ounce of water to your drink. So it's going to taste different. Let's see how different. Strain it into a similar glass and have the old sippy sip. No, I think the booze element's coming through stronger, and that would be because of less dilution, really. They're both good, I'll give them that. This actually brings the booze elements forward more. So it's going to depend what you like in a drink, because if you do this method of using like your frozen juice as opposed to ice, the drink is going to be less diluted. The juice is arguably going to be more forward, but my taste here, it's definitely brought the booze elements more forward. So this is going to depend on what you like in a drink. And I think it's worth experimenting. I love doing experiments. The only way you know for sure if something's a good idea or not, do it. I just thought of a whole bunch of things that would be a bad idea to do just to see what happens. I'm just talking about mixing cocktails, okay? Not grabbing power cables or anything like that. So it's an interesting experiment, and I think it's worth it. And I think I might try it with a few other drinks. A few rum drinks spring to mind, in fact. But it's an interesting idea. It's possibly more trouble than it's worth to make these little bits of frozen juice and put them in there. But it is a noticeably different drink. And I thought maybe the juice would be more forward, but the booze elements have definitely come more forward in this. I'm a fond of a boozy drink, and I'm a fond of a fruity drink, so it's a double win as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to continue double fisting my Tamarama Door Slammers, and I hope wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're taking care of yourself. Also, you know, the opportunity comes up to take care of someone else, do that too. But either way, I hope you're happy, I hope you're keeping well, and I hope to see you again soon. Until I do, cheers.